Oh, the other thing that we're going to take off is the side stand switch.
Okay.
These run a side stand switch. When the side stands down like that, it doesn't allow the bike to start.
Don't let,
So we're going to plug this in, just solder these two wires together, heat shrink it up. So never forget that your side stand is down. Also, back in the day, what used to be a cheat.
Let me make sure that everybody can see you. There's something noisy in the other room.
It's a compressor. Some of the classes that we used to race in didn't allow you to have a quick shifter, and you had to run your stock wiring loom. You couldn't run a kit wiring loom. You had to, and you weren't allowed to run a quick shifter. But back in the day, I used to make a bracket for this, and the gear lever used to touch this every time I changed gear, which would cut the engine, which would act as a quick shifter. It's not as accurate as a quick shifter because it's not 600 thousandths of a second, but it's a good cheat because effectively you're running the stock wiring loom, the stock wiring, and just the fact that you've mounted that somewhere different was irrelevant. So this did actually act as a quick shifter. So we used to cheat.
I have now a question of the day.
Question of the day.
Yeah, I just came up with a question. The Priceless lesson by Simon.
A priceless lesson by Simon.
Can you tell us how the quick shifter works?
No.
You can't.
Don't know how a quick shifter works.
You don't?
No. It's some sort of magic.
Can you tell how the quick shifter works?
Yeah, I can.
Does it kill the engine actually?
With the way that these gearboxes run, these are basically like a cassette gearbox. The gears are in line, so you're shifting in one direction all the time. You haven't got to go through a gate to get them. That's the way these gearboxes are designed. So what happens is, as you shift gear, it just moves a dog, and the dog locates the next gear along as a fork that locates each gear. When an engine is under load, so it's running, it's under load, it's really, really difficult to shift that gear. So without using a clutch, or you have to throttle off and give it as least load as you can to shift. And you can get a lot of motocrossers use it. You just go through the box just by throttling off very slightly. Well, just a motocross thing, you can slip the clutch and leave the throttle open, but that's irrelevant. That won't work on these. If the engine's under load, it won't want to shift. So you unload it, shift it, throttle back on again. That's the old style way of doing it, before we invented cheats about side stand switches and things. Then was developed, GP wise, prior to it ever getting to the road, a spark cut. So effectively, if you were to cut the spark for 600ths of a second, whatever HM quick shifters recommend you run on that particular thing, or whatever is easiest for you to shift with, it kills the spark. So you can shift full throttle because the motor is no longer under load. For that split hundredths of a second, you can shift on full throttle. Somebody changing gear without a quick shifter, the normal way, with a clutch, in gear and engage, and away you go again, back onto full throttle. If they're next to someone that's running a quick shifter, I think they gain something like 4 to 8 foot per gear change with someone running a quick shifter. That's how well that a quick shifter works, is you gain that much more down the straight. Someone is changing gear normally, and you'll just bop, 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 bop. It's a race winner, isn't it? But later on, they've developed a fuel cut as well as a spark cut. So some run via the ECU, which does both. Some run straight to the coils, which does just a spark, which is fine. But the way they work is it cuts the spark, unloads the engine, allows you to select the next gear while you're still on full throttle.
That's why it explains when sometimes when I use a quick shifter, if I don't get to that sweet point where I can use it, the bike doesn't like it. It
Won't
doesn't
like it,
yeah.
especially if you've got a quick shifter that's set that will only work after a certain amount of RPM. So if you're at 2000 RPM, the quick shifter is not going to work. It's absolutely pointless. Pointless even using a quick shifter.
Yeah.
Unless you're outside the CAF and you want to show off the fact that you pop and bang using your quick shifter. But some of them only come in after 6000 RPM. So 6000 RPM, then it will work. But prior to that, it won't. You have to change gear normally.
That explains it all.
Yeah.
Because even on that Suzuki that I have on 8S, it has a quick shift and a blipper.
Yes.
And when I was using quick shift, it not always works smoothly. And I found on lower RPMs, it doesn't. So I still use a clutch if I want to change a gear, if I'm stuck behind the cars.
It will only be configured after a certain amount of RPMs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it won't.
That explains everything.
Yeah.
Priceless lesson by Simon.
There you go. Yes, sausage and mash, please, and spaghetti oops. I want to make a volcano, looks like a Millennium Dome. Thank you, love you, bye. That's my dinner order. Both things are tools. They're tools to aid. A little bit gimmicky on road bike stuff, because obviously you don't need those tools on a road bike, but it's good to say that you've got them
So
for
nice.
bragging rights down the pub or whatever. Yeah, got a blipper, got a shifter, got whatever. But they're race tools, and that's a tool to aid your acceleration. And the blipper or the overrun or whatever you want to, whichever you want to call it. We used to call it overrun, where you just dial on the map. You dial a load of fuel in when the throttle's shut. And that aids less engine brake or more engine brake. So as you shut the throttle, everything starts to slow down. That's called engine brake. Loads the chain up the other way. Yeah, that's engine brake.
So what does the blipper do?
So the blipper throttles. So it semi-loads the engine as you're decelerating to give you less engine brake. And it's easier for you to down change. So everything about rider aids, if you want to call them, or racer aids, is all about how you can get into a corner, how you can get out of a corner, and how fast you can accelerate. On the engine side of things, obviously braking's braking. But the blipper was developed so that instead of having to constantly clutch in or feather the clutch as you're down changing to come up to corner, don't forget you're already dealing with braking forces, you're already dealing with where your apex is, where you're getting ready to turn in. You're dealing with everything with that, as well as changing down gear as you're approaching the corner. You don't want to be changing mid-corner. You want to gear changing, and your braking pretty much ought to be done as you're tipping in. You don't want to be mucking about mid-corner, because if you muck about mid-corner, then you upset the bike. If you try and change a gear, you'll upset everything. The bike's already dealing with that gyroscopic effect that I was telling you about. It's already loaded because of the centrifugal forces of it going around that corner. Doesn't want to have to deal with a gear change, doesn't want to have to deal with extra load on the rear through engine brake. So the blipper was developed to help you change down, and the quick shifter was developed to help you change up. So it adds fuel, basically revs the bike, helps the gears select down.
But also just a spot, and even shorter I found than the quick shifter. Yeah.
They're probably very similar time signals that's been sent to it. And don't forget, especially with the fly-by-wire stuff, it's actually throttling. It's blipping the throttle. That's why it's called a blipper. Blip, blip, blip. Boom, 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 as you're changing down. That's basically doing it for you, which is a rider aid or a racer aid. It's good that they are on road bikes, but
it's good fun.
Good fun, yeah. But why? Why?
How cool when you're leaving a red light.
How cool when you're leaving a red light, or you're pulling out the pub car park, or you're going past the CAF. off, or I don't go to the pub either. But yeah.
I don't think it's a show off because most of the bikes, lots of the bikes have that now.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a show off anymore.
It's a sales pitch,
Is it?
isn't it? Hell yeah. It's already got a Quickshifter. You've got people like HM, and there are lots of other Quickshifter manufacturers, but my preference are HM Quickshifters, the aftermarket shifters. And I've known people now with bikes that come with a fitted shifter on them already are junking them and bolting on proper ones. But it's a sales pitch. It's got a shifter. It's got a Quickshifter. It's got a Blipper. Oh, great. Yeah, I'll have it.
Yeah. Okay.
But good fun for the road. You're only going to get nicked, aren't you? Whatever.
Yeah.
If you use a bike to its full potential out there, you're going to get nicked, and which is, or die, either of the two.
For me, it's good because I'm getting used to it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise.
So at what point were you? So you pick as the AS got a shifter on it
And Blipper.
and a Blipper. So at what point? Not that I know. I haven't seen the bike yet. So. At what point did you come out of Suzuki, you were 100% throttle and you needed to use all 6 gears in your quick shift?
No, I didn't need to use, but I used 3 and I quick shifted.
And at what point were you coming up to that roundabout, pretty much flat chat, and you needed a Blipper to aid you into?
Never.
Right. Okay. But there you go. So yeah, it's a gimmick. But a good gimmick.
Are you eating fruit? Oh, this is the first time I see you eating fruit.
It's not the first time I've eaten fruit though. I've eaten fruit before.
Have you?
Yeah. Fruit pastels. Wine gums. Oh no, it's not fruit.
It is, isn't it? It has strawberries and black currant and everything.
Alison says I've got to eat more fruit.
Does she? 5 a day?
She says I'm going to die if I don't eat fruit.
She said you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Is that why you're eating that banana?
Yeah.
But banana is not like the most. It has potassium and loads of sugar, especially if it is ripe. So it's not like the best fruit to keep you alive, to be honest.
Well, better than nothing, isn't it?
I can't understand you.
It's better than nothing.
Better than nothing.
Well. What do you suggest I eat them?
Berries and other fruits like citrus fruits.
I'm not a fucking bear. I know bears don't eat berries.
No, bears eat honey.
Don't like honey.
You don't like honey?
Nah.
Don't like honey?
Nah.
Honey is nice. I like honey. That's the only sweetener I use.
It's made out of bee spit, innit?
Yeah, but bee spit.
Bee spit.
Yeah, but they are tiny little animals.
Yeah, that's a lot of spit, innit? I don't like anyone spitting on me food, let alone making it out of spit.
Okay.